Hey everybody, it's Charles, your hobby hero, and today we're going to be looking at one of the rarest comic books in my collection. We're going to be sending it off to get pressed, regraded to see if we can get a bump in the grade, which will be at the very end of this video, so make sure you watch to the very end. Before we get started though, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down in the bottom corner. I do appreciate it. Put out regular content about the hobbies that I love the most. Having said that, we'll go ahead and jump right in. As I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed, the little bit of rotation, but the current comic book that is sitting back here behind me is an Invincible #1, which you may not know if you don't follow me on my Instagram or Twitter, is just how rare this particular book is. So now if you've got a sharp eye, you may realize it doesn't look quite right, and there is a reason for that. As you can see, the book itself, here, colors are not quite as vibrant as they should be, and I'll put a little image up over here of what the actual issue #1 looks like. Show you on the back too. It's also color faded on the back here. Now if you weren't quite aware of how these comic books work, you may just think this was a sun faded book, and a lot of the stuff that would be the same. Now, it'd be very difficult to sun fade a book on the front and the back, especially accidentally. The book also isn't very old, so unless it was deliberately sun faded, it would be very hard for it to have just lost this much color naturally. Also, just this, like I said, the age of this book whenever it was sealed, like I said, it's just not something that's going to be done. But if you actually take a look at the label up top, and I'll toss it up here as far as a close-up of it so you don't have to squint and read it, it actually has it listed as a manufacturing error. Now what has happened on this particular book, and these books were pretty relatively low print run as it was. I think there are just over 10,000 books copies of the very first issue of Invincible printed, so already a pretty low print run book to begin with. But at the very end of the print run, the ink basically on the machine was not all the way full, and a few books made it out with this, what they call a weak color strike. So basically not quite enough ink left in the printer to give it that really vibrant front cover. Now to date, I think when it was graded, the guy I purchased it from said whenever he had it graded, they estimated maybe 20 copies of this book got out. To date though, this is the only graded copy that I know about, and I've had one other person reach out to me that had a raw copy of this book, and it looked to be probably a 9.2 condition. Had a ding on the back corner that broke color, and this one obviously came in at a 9.4. But this one has some pressable defects. I looked at the grader's notes. It had light spine stresses that barely break color. There are probably 2 color breaking spine ticks on this book, but there is some pressable creasing. Like I said, I don't know that you could really get a good view of it here. It was a big reason why I had decided to purchase the book, was because I thought it could press up to a higher grade 2, already a rarity in and of itself. But if we can get it at a 9.6, obviously that will be even better. What you might notice about the label is that it's a CBCS label. I do have a lot of CGC books in my collection. I've got a video on kind of the reason why I chose CBCS or CGC over CBCS in a lot of the situations that are out there. In this particular case though, CBCS does designate the error that is on this book as part of their pedigree. So it'll have their pedigree label on it. And pedigree labels, if anything, usually add to the value of the book, very rarely detract. The same book, the exact same book, going to CGC, they basically told me that it was going to get their green qualified label, or if I wanted to get a blue label, that they would dramatically lower the grade based on the color strike on the book. So if you aren't aware, the green label is the label that they use to kind of designate stuff that was omitted in the grading process, so it doesn't affect the overall grades. Same as if it's an unverified signature. So if I just had, Kirkman sign this without them seeing it, they would give it a green label saying basically we ignored that there's a signature on the front of this, and this is what the book graded at. If they're missing pages, missing coupons, stuff like that on the inside. So generally, green labels will dramatically lower the value of a book, just because the perception is that the book is in worse condition than it actually is. And then obviously if they reduce the grade dramatically to keep with the blue label, then the perception is this is a lower grade book. So I didn't want to go that route. I wanted to stick with the company that was going to recognize it for what it is, which is a very limited, very rare version of this book. And again, they're going to press it, and I'm hoping for a 9.6. So we're going to go ahead and box this up, send it off. We're going to do a little fast forward dance here, and you guys are going to get to see the finished product. So here it goes. We go down. All right, back with the book now. I have a different shirt on and a shorter beard, so I'm sorry if I broke the fourth wall illusion there for you. I did not actually time travel in this video, but it was, we submitted this book on June 8th, I think is when we mailed it back in. It just got back in on July 16th after a press and regrade. I did the 2-day modern tier for all that, so very quick turnaround, all things considered. I have already seen the grade, just due to the nature of how the video is set up, but you guys have it, so we're going to take a look at it, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the whole process. So without further ado, the grade is 9.4. White pages. So obviously disappointed in this and the overall grade. However, the pressing job actually did get out the pressable defects that I thought it would get out, which is kind of surprising that despite the fact that they got the pressable defects out, there was no bump in the grade. Grader's notes remained exactly the same, that there were spine stresses on the spine that broke color, and just due to the nature of the book and some things I didn't take into consideration, this is a cardstock cover. So if this had been a regular modern era cover for a book, a lot of the very tiny spine ticks, which I can't get them on the camera here. Honestly, you can barely see them from a foot in front of your face. Closer examination, you'll look at them, and that's obviously what they're doing. Those would have popped out of a regular paper cover on a modern book, but these cardstock ones have held it in there a little bit longer. So surprised that they improved the condition of the book without it improving the grade. It still does have that manufacturer's error tag, which was the big reason why I wanted to send it to them. So future steps from here, I don't know. I think with CBCS, I think we're pretty confident that it's going to continue to get this 9.4. I had looked at CGC. CGC now has the Invincible custom labels on their site, so maybe looking at those, possibly getting a cross grade with those custom labels, as far as whether or not they're going to have a green custom label, because sometimes they do not offer all the colors on those custom labels, so there could be some exceptions there, and if I can get a custom label on it without having to cross colors, it may be an option that I can look at as well. So I may look into that. I may look at some independent pressers, see what their thoughts are on the particular cover. Not that CBCS did a bad job, but when you have these independent pressers, some of them just have more experience with certain books and certain types of books, so they may be able to get some of those smaller creases to pop better than CBCS has done. As far as for me, the whole turnaround time, I was very happy with the turnaround time. The cost was pretty manageable as well. I think they had a 5% coupon, and the total was about $104. Pressed and cleaned, and got it back in about a total little over a month and a week, I guess, turnaround time. So not bad at all for the speed of that service. Again, I said it on the channel, and I'll keep saying it. Their modern 2-day is far and away, I think, the best product that is available for comic book grading right now. Obviously, at $40, it's probably not going to make sense to send all your comics that way. But if you're sending in just a handful of comics, maybe 1 or 2 a month, or maybe just 1 or 2 ever, that's what I would recommend, because I just don't like being without my toys for that long. So let me know what you guys think, you know, in the comment section below. If you've got experience with having a comic book improved on condition but not getting a grade bump, let me know. Always helpful to help me make those decisions going forward in the future. I'll definitely keep you guys posted if we decide to do anything else with this book. But for right now, he's got his spot back on the counter and back where he belongs. So until next time, Hobby Hero out.